I think this thing is recording. I think it is still May 25th, 2024. May 25th, 2024. And this is just another jibber jabber clarification video because my last video got cut off. I'm using some old cell phones to record these. I'm not using my camera to record these. I do have a video camera, which I will definitely be using, but not for these. These are just jibber jabber. So in the last video that was cut off, I was kind of jabbering about intuition and, my dreams that have always basically been proven to be true. And I just wanted to clarify, or double, triple, quadruple, whatever, clarify that I absolutely do not believe in ooga booga, psychic, whatever, like that's proof. No, no, nope. Never have believed that, never will believe that, certainly do not believe that now. But, these dreams are kind of, they're part of this. They're part of this. They're part of, I guess, just, showing the impact. They're part of showing a part of the impact. Definitely not all of the impact. And then there's going to be, what I'm planning on actually doing for the next step. And again, it is legal. It is not violent. It's 100% legal. I have a full history of in truth, towing the line, obeying the rules, obeying the laws. There are things that I've had to do that were not obeying the laws, like when I had to do the hybrid schedule for work and I could not afford auto insurance, and didn't matter. I still had to drive over 200 miles to live in the parking lot of my workplace without auto insurance to keep my job, and then pay half of my monthly income to the ongoing abuse because that's what I was ordered to do. So that's what I did. So that's an example where I did not obey the rules because I couldn't afford auto insurance. But I never got into any accidents. I never got close to any accidents. I was very careful, and I felt really bad about it. And I still feel bad and guilty for having had to do that. It takes a hard hit on me when I have to do things like that. And I wish I would never have to do things like that. But I was trying really hard. And I just kept hoping that, that I would find an attorney that would help. There are no pro bono attorneys for this kind of situation. I've looked and looked and looked, hoping that I could find, forensic psychologist or something that could help by disproving some of the false allegations and testifying to what this type of situation looks like in reality, reviewing evidence that I have, writing a report and testifying regarding the evidence I have, just things that I thought would help that maybe wouldn't have helped. I mean, maybe none of those things would have mattered. There's a reason why this channel is called Truth is Trash. It's because truth is trash, proof is trash, evidence is trash, and lies are gold. And I did not lie. I did not lie have not lied, and I am not lying now, which is why my life and my children's life is trashed. Yeah, so I'm going to have to start living in a vehicle because of the stalking and the stalking by proxy and the escalating abuse by proxy. And it has been extremely quiet. It's been extremely quiet since when I had to go 200 miles plus with the help of my neighbor, who's not a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, nothing like that, but my neighbor has been watching this nightmare for years now, and he felt sorry for me, I guess, and he drove me 200 plus miles away to go to the first, what I thought was going to be the court date, but it wasn't, because my ex is lying and scamming and perjuring himself, but never getting caught. So maybe it's not perjury if you don't get caught, because these kind of perpetrators don't get caught, basically. They just keep getting away with it. But he had tried to get more money to continue abusing, and he filed in both family court and through the state. And apparently you can't do that. Apparently when you do that, the state just takes over and you can't have a conference or anything anymore in family court. So now nothing is through family court. And that's something that other victims need to know. Other victims need to know that no matter what the judge in family court says, no matter what the family court order says, it is not worth the paper it is written on. Again, it is not worth the paper it is written on. It is worth nothing. Because if your abuser and your children's abuser, carries the lies to the state will just take over. They throw whatever family court ruled out the window, except for the bad stuff, except for the abuser gets to keep abusing, gets to get paid for abusing, and will continue abusing. And the state they go at you like you are a terrorist. You are the worst terrorist. You are a world terrorist. I mean, you are just like, you are the most dangerous person on the planet. They make it so that you cannot get a passport. They go after you tax-wise if they can. And then they, take your money without any kind of hearing, conference, or notification. They just take your money, stealing it and making it so that you cannot continue working. You can't get groceries. You can't have water. And for those that don't know, a mammal can live 3 days without water. And before the third day comes, that mammal, including humans, is really suffering and having renal damage, kidney, and liver damage, because water is a necessity to continue being alive. It's just a necessity to continue being alive. And I am in an off-grid location, and that's the only reason I've been able to make it this far. But being in an off-grid location where I am allowed to be, um, you don't have city water. You don't have city water. And you have to get a water delivery. So a truck has to come and do a water delivery, and you have to pay for that. It's not free. And you can't negotiate with the city to keep your water turned on because you don't have city water. And they stole my money, so no water. And I can imagine at some point now or later, there's going to be people outraged. Oh my gosh, you've got fur babies and your fur babies can't have any water. Yeah. Yeah. And I actually have 2 service dogs because I have medical problems with my heart and everything. And I can give them a little bit of water, but they can't have, you know, they can't have what they need, and neither can I. Um, and that's a reality. And no, I should not just have to bring them to a shelter and give them away because, without a court date, without a court conference, without anything, my money was just stolen out of the blue. Like, I had no idea because I was paying already for the ongoing abuse. You can't budget for that, you know. Times are tough financially for most people. Most people are suffering financially, myself included, especially in this situation. And I do have a budget. I actually have a budget. And I was going to get a water delivery 2 weeks ago, and then my money was stolen by the state. And there is nothing I can do about that. I have been trying and trying to call this phone number they give you, and it's always you wait on hold for an hour or more, and then they can't do anything and they don't know anything, and you have to talk to your case manager who is never in the office and also never calls you back. Um, the state treats you like you are the most horrific criminal in in the world. That's how they treat you. That's what they do. That's the norm. Uh, and I'm not physically and medically healthy. My body is really messed up. And I wouldn't have even made it this far if I were living in a town or city with the amenities of being in a town or city. I would not have been able to keep my job this long with what I have to pay to have my job. And yeah, and so I'm going to have to move into a vehicle, and somehow I'm going to have to try to keep my job while living in a vehicle. And in order to live in a vehicle, I have to put solar on that vehicle, and solar is not free. It is not free. And with them stealing my money, now both paychecks, and there is no other source of income, I don't know how I'm going to get solar on the vehicle. I don't know how I'm going to do that. And my poor neighbor wants to help, and I can't. I just can't. My neighbor is on Social Security, and I just can't. I can't take away from somebody else, who's innocent. All of this abuse can't get dumped on other innocent people that don't have the ability to survive it, to be okay. If people that were not victims, people that were still working and had incomes, if 10,000 of those people gave $1, donated $1, then I could hire the best lawyer in the city. And believe me, I have overwhelming evidence, including evidence that can be provided in court. And this could potentially all be turned around if 10,000 people gave $1. But that's never going to happen. And I've noticed the people who turn their back on it the most are like the religious people, the Christians and whatnot. They turn their back on it the most, but everybody else turns their back on it too. People that work in agencies and law enforcement and whatever, it's not their problem, it's somebody else's problem, right? It's CPS's problem. And CPS, well, we're going to get into that more. But the cases where they've screwed up are overwhelming. It's like They mess up. That's what they do. They mess up. And then the law enforcement, well, they just hand it over to CPS. CPS messes it up, and then family court just supports whatever the mess up was. And then lawyers lose on purpose, and then nobody will help. And I guess I'm saying affordable lawyers lose on purpose. Like lawyers where the retainer's like about $2,500, but they're still making, $300 or $400 or so an hour. Those kind of lawyers, they're the ones that lose on purpose. The top attorney in the city, who I contacted, before I hired Loser, their retainer is $10,000. I didn't have that. I didn't have a way of getting that. Coming right out of the COVID pandemic shutdowns, like I said, the situation is not an income enhancer, especially when there's physical medical problems that you can't fix. And the fact it's ongoing, the abuse by proxy is ongoing, has not been a financial enhancer either. In fact, my income is exactly the same as it was when I had the court date and family court that my lawyer lost on purpose. My income has not increased. My health has declined because I cannot afford to do any of the things really necessary to take care of myself. So my health has declined. My heart issues have declined. I have 2 kinds of arrhythmia and a heart murmur, and that's gotten a lot worse, and I can feel it. I'm exhausted all the time. My arthritis has gotten worse, a lot worse. And the autoimmune, obviously, that's my body attacking itself. Well, that's reflected in the arthritis and everything else. And it's all gotten worse because I can't take care of myself. I mean, my neighbor was noticing what I do for groceries. And he started giving me food. And now I'm going to have to move into a vehicle, and I don't know how I'm going to put solar on that vehicle to have power so I can run the computer and stuff for work. And then what's the point of working if they're taking basically both paychecks? And I'm getting this run down. I am this physically destroyed, this medically destroyed, because already I don't have the income to take care of myself. Like, what's the point of working? So I'm guessing what's going to happen is that I'm just going to do, the legal and moral thing that I'm going to be doing to try to help other children and other parental victims in this situation, because my case is not unusual at all. There's so many of us, so very many of us. People couldn't even comprehend how many of us were like the norm. We're like the norm, it seems. Maybe I can help them, and then I'm probably just going to get arrested and go to prison for not being able to pay the ongoing abuse because I don't have a job. Which I can't keep the job anyway. I mean, because if I can't have electricity, I can't run the computer. And I can't live in any kind of sedentary location, because if I do that, then the abuse by proxy, the stalking by proxy, and the stalking will just continue to get worse until something really bad happens. I mean, really bad beyond what's already happened, literally. So it's not like I can just move to another town or another city. It's not like I can go to a city where maybe I can get subsidized apartment or housing or something. Because if I'm in a stable, sedentary housing situation, then I'm findable. And if I'm findable, something really, really bad is going to happen directly to me beyond what's already happened, which is what's already happening is so bad that I wouldn't really care if he killed me. I mean, that would be like the most relieving thing if he would kill me. But it's not going to be something like that. It's going to be, probably very similar to the abuse by proxies done in the past. And that's worse. That's so much worse than just being murdered. And I'm not afraid of dying. I'm not afraid of dying. I mean, the things that I've seen for over a decade now, and the abuse by proxy I've dealt with for over a decade now, and the situation that's going on right now, and the other victims that I've met, and their proof that I've seen, and all of it, it is so dark. It is so dark. It is so, for lack of a better word, so evil, so shattering. It's so shattering. Dying is nothing. Dying is nothing. But dying in some torturous manner after more abuse by proxy, after more medical decline and medical suffering, to try to pay for ongoing abuse of every kind until the boom, the final whatever mountain that kills me in a very suffering way, I'm sure, because I suffer every day medically and everything else. I mean, breathing hurts. Like the arrhythmia and the heart murmur has gotten really bad, and breathing is hard. It's really hard, and painful. That's just a losing proposition, and it makes it really pointless. And I can't afford to do anything about it, and there isn't any help for people like me and my children and all the other people like us. There is no help. It's nobody's job. And general citizens, they just have their reasons, their excuses to turn their back. They don't believe it. Oh, that must be Delulu land. Oh, you must be just crazy. Oh, you must have done something terrible that you're not revealing. That's another big one. You must have done something terrible that you're not admitting to. And the kids in these situations, they're going through this major brainwashing and parental alienation, and the abuser is sitting there just brainwashing them nonstop. And you, as the innocent parent, have no contact whatsoever with your kids. None. Zero. Zero. No phone calls, no visits, no nothing, no cards, no letters, no nothing. And so you can't give any input at all. And the bottom line is, giving input is not where it's at. Where it's at is your kids actually being able to be with you in a natural kind of way where they can see your actions. They need to see your actions. And that's what will show them the abuser is lying. And they need to see your actions for not 5 minutes. They need to see your actions over time, because they've been getting brainwashed for years. So 5 minutes is not going to convince them of anything. And then I believe that, obviously, appointments with a good therapist, to properly help you communicate with them and them communicate with you to address the lies those children have been told. But you don't have a right to do any of that. when the child abuser and the abuser has scammed the system to create this kind of scenario. You don't have the right to do that. You don't have the right to do anything but pay for the ongoing abuse. It's just, I think it's what defines America. I think if my health holds out long enough and I can travel and somehow afford to travel, God only knows how that's going to happen. I think I will find that it's not just this state. I think I will find it's across the country. That victims like us are across the country. And we're basically silenced because nobody will believe us, nobody will help us, and we get so broken and exhausted and just run down. Like when half or more than half of your income's taken and your family, what family? And you can't connect with normal people. You're dehumanized. You are dehumanized. You're not a human being anymore. You're a freak. There's so many like you. There's like us, like victims like us. There's so many like us. But we're isolated. We can't find each other, and we're just too broken to unite, like we desperately want to save our innocent children, but there isn't any help for us. There isn't anywhere to turn. And people who are still in the normalcy realm just sit there and think that we must have done something really awful we're not admitting to. Believe me, victims like me, we've paid the price. We've done our time. We've done our time for the most heinous crimes imaginable that we never did. And our children are being brainwashed to believe we're somebody we never were. One of my children believes that I did something that their father did, and I have proof I have a video of their father doing it to him. And it's not the essay, it's something else. I'll just say it. My child believes that I threw a hardcover book at them. I never did. But their father did. And I have a video of that happening. But the brainwashing has gotten so far, and it just reaches that point because the kids are looking for, how does this make sense to? People do that. Humans do that. We look for, well, how does this make sense? Make this make sense. And so in our minds, we have to make it make sense. And kids are no different, or they're humans. And then if they're getting lied to and brainwashed, parental alienation by the abusive parent, and then, the trauma bonding and the trauma and how that impacts the brain of children, of anyone. I mean, putting children in a situation like this is like putting children in the depth of a cult and leaving them in that cult. Look at what people who are brainwashed by cults believe. They believe the most insane things ever because they've been isolated and fed this garbage. And the cult will do things like sleep deprivation and like nutritional deprivation. Well, abusers do the same thing to children: sleep deprivation, nutritional deprivation, battering, abuse by proxy against the innocent parent to make it look like they're bad. even though there's never any proof, or there can't be any proof. And anyone that really looks at it with critical thinking will see that this doesn't even add up. And anyone that gets to know the innocent parental victim, what they're like in their real day-to-day life, they know it's not true because they see how you are day in and day out. They see it for themselves. And that's the only way to prove it to the kids too, is for them to see it for themselves. But abusers like my ex, like so many like my ex, they make sure those kids don't see it for themselves. Anyway, in a way, I'm looking forward to living in the vehicle, because living here in this stationary location, as beautiful as it is, and as peaceful and safe as it felt in the past, the way I have things set up, it's not safe and peaceful anymore. I'm just constantly waiting for the next abuse by proxy, big scam. I'm just waiting for the things that I know are going to happen. But I really wish that I could get electricity for the vehicle, so maybe I could keep my job a little bit longer. That's one of my dogs whining. And then I realize that's really stupid. That doesn't make sense. Because if I'm not getting paid to work, people work to get paid, and people need to get paid to survive. That's how you get food. That's how you get whatever medical care you can get. Even if it's just part of the medical care you need, the way you get it is by paying for it.